Hello guys and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today my plan is to tell you guys about my initial impression of Project Playtime and how I believe it can be further improved in the future. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Now Project Playtime finally released on the 12th of December as it had many delays before that. It is both published and developed by Mob Games, those responsible for making Poppy Playtime. As I loaded up the game, there were no real big issues, other than the same cinematic that played in the trailer running at about 7 frames per second. But this wasn't a real big issue for me, as other games such as Modern Warfare have the same issue, and if you really want to watch it again, then you might as well just watch the trailer on YouTube. The tutorial was a little bit janky, but it gave me a good idea of what the game mechanics were. After that, I was clear to go into a game now that I know what I was doing. As you click play, you get 3 options. You can choose quick play, where you get put into a random server, but the catch is it doesn't actually work. You can host your own server, where you can invite your friends through Steam. This works most of the time. And last but not least, you have the server list, where you can pick which server you would like to play on. Each server contains the host's name and the map that will be played on. At the time which I recorded for this video, the maps on the server list were actually reversed. If you were to pick the factory map, then you will be put into a theater map and vice versa. Factory and theater are the 2 maps we received on launch. I personally prefer factory, as it is more complex, more dimly lit and not as open as theater, but if you were to play as the monster, then theater is a much better pick. Overall, I'm quite satisfactory with the maps. They're quite large and they have many places to explore and hide. For me at least, the game runs fine graphically. I didn't have any real big issues. On launch, for some people there were some graphical issues such as not being able to turn on VSync or not being able to change the game's resolution, but for me I didn't have any of these. I would say that the game is visually identical to Poppy Playtime. The only difference being the survivor character models and one new monster, Boxy Boo. Now I am not at all a big fan of Boxy Boo. Even his name is somewhat cringeworthy, especially for a horror game, but overall his design is just lackluster to me. Not only this, but he is the weakest of the 3 monsters playable in the game. Mummy Longlegs being the strongest one by absolute miles. She can spew out webs to slow others down, she can pretty much reach anywhere on the map by grappling, and did I mention she literally has wall hacks. Realistically, being given an option 1 out of 3 monsters, you're gonna pick Mummy Longlegs every time. Unless you're like me and you want to try all of them out. While you can have some enjoyable gameplay with Mummy Longlegs as she's overpowered, I think Huggy Wuggy is the most fun. He is not as overpowered as Mummy Longlegs, so you still get a bit of a challenge, however he's not as ridiculously bad as Boxy Boo. Being a survivor, your task is to go around the map solving puzzles and receiving toy parts. Once you have received all the necessary toy parts, you can start pulling down on a machine and then escaping via train. I do really like this mechanic of having to get onto a train to escape, as it means after the puzzles you still have something to do before you win. If you are unlucky enough to not be on the train when it departs, the train will go around to the opposite end of the map where there is another train station where you can hopefully get on. The puzzles, while getting quite repetitive at times, are quite fun to do. Being a survivor, you need to make great use of your grab pack as you're solving those puzzles and occasionally looking behind your map looking for any monsters wanting to intervene. Also, as a survivor, you can go into the menu and purchase perks to make your life easier, such as making the puzzles easier or gaining health over time. These perks are quite important as they do help you clutch up, as you do not want to spend too long on one puzzle. Sometimes these puzzles did bug out for me where they would make me continuously fail no matter what I do. Here's an example. Failing a puzzle is not a good thing as it alerts the monster of your location. Now failing as many times as I just did, I'm pretty much dead. Well, I guess not really in this case as the monster I was playing against was quite terrible. But anyway, you get the point. You do sometimes come across bugs where as the monster you get stuck in objects, or as the survivor the puzzles just don't work. The game is still technically in early access, so I do have to give a bit of leeway to these issues. As a monster, your perks are called sabotages. These can do quite game-changing things such as shutting off all the puzzles so you can't complete them, or something like my personal favorite where if you activate it, all downed survivors will automatically be taken to the sewers. The sewers is where a survivor will go once the monster has picked them up and throw them down a dark hole. The sewers are not very pleasant as you always have to keep an eye out for mini Huggy Wuggies which you have to click, otherwise they'll get too close and kill you. You have 3 hearts, and every time you are thrown into the sewers, you lose 1. Once you are thrown into the sewers with only 1 heart, you will be jump scared immediately and die. The grab pack is a great addition as it helps you complete puzzles. However, it also unlocks a wide array of different bugs. One of these bugs being spamming the grab pack inside of a train while it's moving will teleport you outside of the map. I don't know if they have fixed this one or not, but when you're completing a puzzle, you must have one hand on it at all times. However, when a monster jump scares you and throws you down into the sewers, that hand will still be attached, so you only have one hand in the sewers. This is fine early game as there aren't many mini huggies, however later down the line this can definitely get you killed very quickly. Now I want to address something really important. The sound design of this game. In terms of the movement of the survivors and the monsters, the sound design is terrible. Monsters either sound like they're right on top of you or miles away, there are no in-betweens. This makes it very hard to tell where the monster is based on sound alone. Not only this, but the survivor footsteps are extremely loud, almost louder than the monster sometimes. But this could have been done on purpose to prevent the player from hearing where the monster is. Another issue is that I've run into while playing some games is that it's very hard to shake off the monster. I mean seriously, when they get on your tail you're pretty much dead unless they don't know what they're doing. While being chased, attempting to seek shelter inside of a locker is not a good idea as they are very easily broken into. I'm all for making the monsters feel powerful and feel dominant while playing, but the game would be much more fun if the players actually had a real chance of escaping from the monster. So far in the game there are only 2 mechanics to help you while you're under chase. You can roll by pressing R on your keyboard, which temporarily makes you quicker for about 1 second. However, this doesn't really give you much of an advantage as the monsters can still catch up quickly. Your best chance of genuinely getting away is using one of those shutter doors. These shutter doors can be found all around the map, and using your grab pack you can actually pull them down. Keep in mind that these shutter doors only stay shut for a certain amount of time. I wish that the roll mechanic would actually put you out of reach of the monsters, because currently you can still be caught after performing a roll. It doesn't seem to make sense that some of these puzzles, such as the piano one, are audio oriented. As the monster can hear the survivor's footsteps, they can see where all the puzzles are, and they can hear you doing the puzzles. With all this in mind, it's pretty much impossible for them not to know that you're there. Maybe having a perk that will make your puzzles silent could be a good idea. Or completely reduce your footstep noise. Just anything really to give the survivors a fighting chance. People often complain about how the monetary system for this game is very much fleshed out and polished, unlike the gameplay. Some people just view this game as another mindless cash grab. Whilst I do agree that the monetary system and the gameplay aren't very balanced in terms of consistency and being polished, you do have to keep in mind that this is an early access game and it is for free. So it only makes sense they're gonna flesh out the monetary system, or else how are they gonna make money off this game? We can only hope that in the future the gameplay is improved and all the bugs are fixed, as I am not sure when this game won't be early access anymore. One thing I would definitely like to see improved is the amount of tickets you get per game. Being a survivor is a lot more fun with a lot more perks. Unfortunately right now you barely get any tickets, and as a result of that you can't get many perks until you literally have hours and hours played. This will help with the balancing issues between survivors and the monsters. Something else that will definitely help with balancing is having the trapdoor shut after every survivor thrown in it. Right now there are multiple trapdoors and they never shut, so you can just keep on piling the survivors into the same hole. But anyway, these are some of my first impressions of Project Playtime and how I think it can be improved. The game definitely does have potential, it just hasn't done much with it yet. The game in its state right now seems like it's a little too early for access. For now, I think I'm going to stick with Dead by Daylight, but I do hope that this game ends with a happy note. That was me for today guys, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.